An anonymous SEC defensive coordinator has spoken out on Gunner Stockton, and On3 just released their preseason top 25 rankings. We got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Georgia Football 365. If you are a Georgia Bulldogs fan, please hit that subscribe button. Only 10.4% of viewers are subscribed to the channel, and it really helps me out a ton. But let's jump right into what we got for today, because we know all about our quarterback, Gunner Stockton. Whether you love him or you hate him, he is leading the Georgia Bulldogs to great season after great season. Last year, winning the SEC championship. Unfortunately, the road stopped there, but still, Gunner Stockton gets so much hate from the media looking at, Steve Smith Sr. from that comment, we'll leave it at, earlier in the offseason. But now ESPN, they just put out an article with SEC, or I should say rival defensive coordinators, talking about each other team's quarterbacks, and here's what they had to say about Gunner Stockton. Coming from ESPN, Stockton doesn't get as much NFL draft or Heisman buzz as other quarterbacks on the list, but he has proved more than capable of leading the offense for a national contender in Georgia. He enters this season as Georgia's quarterback one after an extremely efficient 2025, where he completed 69.7% of his passes for 2,894 yards with 24 touchdown passes, only 5 interceptions on 386 attempts, and a QBR of 84.9, which ranked 6th best in the country. Now, the SEC defensive coordinator said he runs it better than you think, really smart and pretty accurate. I don't think he's got unbelievable arm talent, but he's pretty good. He's a great college quarterback. He's tough, so he can get some bull yards and take some big hits and all that stuff. I really like him. He's a really good player. I don't know if he's an NFL specimen, but he's a great college player. So these comments, a little bit, some praise here, tearing him down somewhere else, but let's get into what exactly this SEC defensive coordinator is talking about when it comes to Gunner Stockton. First of all, what really matters for the Georgia Bulldogs is he called Gunner Stockton a really, really good quarterback, which is true, or a really, really good college quarterback, which is exactly true. Gunner Stockton is coming off of a pretty impressive year for the Georgia Bulldogs, where his statistics, 2,894 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That is not as high of a passing yards total as some of the other top quarterbacks in college would have, or some of the top ranked teams their quarterbacks are producing. But we have to remember what Georgia is building here. And what Georgia is building is a roster with humongous offensive linemen and a roster that is going to be built run first. Lane Kiffin came out this offseason and said they're going to run the ball more. Steve Sarkisian came out and said Texas is going to be run first offense. Those coaches, up to this point, they're kind of just saying it. The Georgia Bulldogs live that. The Georgia Bulldogs offense is all about running the football, and I don't care what the stats say, the Georgia Bulldogs are the best running football team in the SEC. And Gunner Stockton is the quarterback that fits what the Georgia Bulldogs are going to do. So this SEC defensive coordinator, he is talking about how Gunner Stockton may not have those elite traits that are going to land him high on NFL draft boards. And he's right. You look at where Gunner Stockton is projected to be drafted, it's not super high. But that doesn't mean that Gunner Stockton isn't a perfect fit for this Georgia offense, which is true. Gunner Stockton, a phenomenal fit for exactly what Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs are looking to put together, which is a run-first offense with a mobile quarterback who not only is mobile, but a quarterback who's tough. Think about the SEC championship game, Texas versus Georgia. So not last year versus Alabama, 2 years ago, Texas versus Georgia. Carson Beck goes out with a torn UCL at halftime. Gunner Stockton comes in and takes one of the biggest hits you will ever see. And Gunner Stockton does what he always does afterwards. He gets back up. He got hit multiple big time hits in the Sugar Bowl last year in Georgia's last appearance, playing college football in a real game. Did what he always does, got back up, made the next play. He was willing to run the football on the next plays. We were calling design runs for Gunner Stockton. One play after, he would get lit up by an Ole Miss defender. That's the type of leader you want on your team. Someone that asks more from themselves than they ask of the people around them. That is exactly what the Georgia Bulldogs need in their quarterback. So it doesn't matter that Steve Smith can come out and say, this quarterback sucks, which is I'm pretty sure what he said, which I was shocked, absolutely shocked when I heard that, because I'm like, I guess he's not with a professional outlet, but the most things I've heard Steve Smith say as a NFL media person, obviously not an NFL player, has been pretty professional. So I was pretty surprised to hear him come out and say that stuff when he was breaking down the film with Zachariah Branch. But Gunner Stockton, even though he doesn't have the height, the hype, and the arm strength that an Arch Manning might have, maybe he doesn't have the whatever is putting Trinidad Chambliss up draft boards, because I can't figure it out. He's like 5'11". I can't figure out why he's going up draft boards. Made great plays against Georgia last year, don't get me wrong, but I can't figure out why he's going up draft boards. But my overall point here is people blur the lines between a good NFL prospect and a good college football player. And Gunner Stockton is neither one of those. He's a great college football player, while at the same time, he's not a good NFL prospect, but that's not the point. So Gunner Stockton getting some hype here from this rival coach. Love to see it. Next, we have the rankings. We're just put out a top 25 by On3. The Georgia Bulldogs slotting in at the 4 spot. And my feelings on the top 10, wherever you want to put Georgia, hasn't changed. Put us number 1. Put us number 5. The top 5 in college football is very, very fluid right now. And if you are unhappy that Georgia isn't number 1, we can't do anything to maintain a number 1 spot if we were given the number 1 preseason ranking, because week 2, Texas is going to face Ohio State. Those teams are both going to be undefeated. One of those teams will defeat the other team, and the victor of that game is going to be number 1. It would be knocking off a potential / hypothetical preseason ranked number 1 Georgia Bulldog team. Just the way that these schedules line up, so we cannot maintain a number 1 ranking all the way through, like some people I'm sure are going to be hoping for and asking for. But this article put together, or at least the Georgia portion, by Chris Lowe, who writes, "Nobody needs to remind Kirby Smart and his Georgia football team that the Bulldogs are 0-2 in their past 2 college football playoff appearances, and yet they've won 3 of the past 4 SEC championships. Last year may have been a little bit of a bridge season for Georgia, but this defense has a chance to be dominant in 2026, reminiscent of some of those national championship defenses, and 6-4 310-pound defensive lineman Elijah Griffin is a budding star. The Bulldogs return 14 players who were at least part-time starters a year ago, including team leader Gunner Stockton. I think we talked enough about him and his leadership skills in this video. One of the more underrated quarterbacks in college football. Thank you, Chris Lowe. Stockton also has 4 of his 5 offensive linemen returning. The 5th one, who is not returning, left tackle Monroe Freeling, 24th overall pick, I believe. First round pick of the Carolina Panthers. He's playing on Sundays now. The Bulldogs could use a big year from Georgia Tech transfer receiver Isiah Canion. We will need more out of Isiah. The pass game is usually what seems to put the ceiling on the Georgia Bulldogs every year, because every year Georgia has one of, if not the best run game in the country. And then it is, how effective are we going to be passing the football? Now, Carson Beck had Ladd McConkey. He had Brock Bowers. We're not going to blank on the best tight end in NFL history. Had Brock Bowers. He had other receivers as well who were talented. The receiver core on paper, not as talented as it was in those previous years, but Gunner and Bobo, our offensive coordinator, are going to have to find ways to make this thing work. And the Georgia Bulldogs are going to lean on the run game, lean on the defense. We're going to see what Gunner Stockton can give us in terms of passing, because anything extra that can be added through the air is just going to be icing on top of the cake for this Georgia offense. That's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Go Dogs!